Welcome, pelvic pros, to the Just Pelvic Floor Body Scan with Jane. Hi, my name is Jane, and I'm a pelvic floor physiotherapist from Toronto, Canada. I'm so excited that you've joined me today in the Just Pelvic Floor Body Scan, because this is where my passion lies, in educating anyone and everyone about pelvic floor health, how the pelvic floor works in relationship with the rest of our body. It's really my life's mission to advocate for pelvic health physiotherapy, the profession, and also spread the word that pelvic health is health at the end of the day. And there are some very uncomfortable and embarrassing consequences when there's dysfunction with our pelvic health. So with that said, let's get started. Finding a comfortable position. You may either be lying on your back, placing a pillow beneath your knees, lying on your side, or sitting upright. We're going to focus our attention on our breath first. If you haven't already, soften your gaze or close your eyes. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Breath in and breath out. In for 1, 2, 3. Out 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See if you can keep the rate of breath similar throughout your practice. Nice and slow. And whenever you notice your breath speeding up, without any judgment, just bring it back to the count of 3 on the inhale and 5 seconds out on the exhale. Now we're going to bring our attention to our pelvic floor. If you're not familiar with the anatomy of our pelvic floor, we're going to start with a very basic overview of where the heck the pelvic floor is and what it is attached to. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the bony landmarks, the muscular landmarks. So I'd like you to visualize from the view of if you were to look at your pelvic floor from a bottom up, sort of like an ant's view, insect view, if you will. So as you look up at your pelvic floor, if you were in standing, and we remove the layer of skin, the layer of connective tissue, we would see that there's a quilt of muscle at the very base, spanning our pelvic inlet, that hole or that gap in between that pelvic bone that looks like a circle. That bony structure is called our pelvic girdle. And what makes up our pelvic girdle is our sacrum bone in the back, which is connected to our lumbar spine. So our spine is connected to the sacrum, and then the tailbone is connected to the sacrum beneath. And then we've got our pubic bone in front, and our iliac crests left and right sides. So now picturing the circular bone, what's that basement structure that's beneath this circular sort of donut of a bone is your pelvic floor. And you want to think of these muscles as a quilt of muscles, I like to say, because it's made up of multiple individual muscles, but they really are quilted together. They work together. When they contract, they all concertedly go in one direction and coordinatedly go in the opposite direction when they relax. So these muscles really work together. So we often think of them as one. So as you're looking up at the pelvic floor, I want you to picture a clock face. Pubic bone being 12 o'clock, and that pubic symphysis, the joining of the two pubic arches, that center point, think of the pubic symphysis as your 12 o'clock. Think of your tailbone as your 6 p.m., your 6 o'clock. And then picture your sits bones, the two bony landmarks. When you sit down, you feel two bony ridges. Those are your sits bones, otherwise known as ischial tuberosities. Those are going to be your 3 and 9 o'clock landmarks. And so if we picture that muscle as the face of a clock, know that on your inhale, this clock face is going to expand and become a larger clock face to that insect view. And on your exhale, this clock face is going to recoil, look a bit smaller, and sort of form to the size of your pelvic girdle, those bony structures. Again, when you inhale, picture that clock coming towards you. If you were that insect, looking up again. And as you exhale, the clock face minimizes, gets smaller, recoils back. Note that there's a little bit of movement at the tailbone and where it connects to the sacrum bone. So that tailbone also creeps forward towards you on a breath in, and breath out. Tailbone recoils with your pelvic floor. If you know the anatomy of the pelvic floor really, really well, you will know that a lot of the muscle names are actually very not creative. They're basically named as the attachment site of where they come from and their insertion site of where they go to. So you know that all the muscles that end in coccygeus mean that they will attach to coccyx bone, which is your tailbone. So because of all that connection to the tailbone, you can envision that inhale and exhale, the tailbone and all those muscles that end with coccygeus, they're moving in sync with the gradient of pressure that your pelvic floor and tailbone sees on the inhale and exhale. So let's picture this as a system. As you breathe in, your lungs fill with air, and that big, effective, strong breathing muscle that lives underneath your ribs goes from looking like a dome to looking more flat. As this happens on your breath in still, that structure going from dome to pancake places an increased intra-abdominal pressure so that whenever we're in yoga class, whenever we're asked to do a deep diaphragmatic breath, what do you notice? Belly rises right away. That's how you know you're doing an effective diaphragmatic breath, is when you feel that belly expansion. You notice the lower rib cage is expanding. So if you're lying on your back, maybe you'd like to put your hands around the lower ribs, left and right side. Thumbs should be near the back, the posterior side of the ribs, and take a deep diaphragmatic breath. Notice that there's some movement of the lower ribs into your hands. Great, so we notice lower ribs expand. We notice belly rising. Those are signs that there is going to be an increased intra-abdominal pressure in our abdominal cavity. And that pressure gradient is what also allows our pelvic floor to expand, that clock face again getting bigger, because it sees that increased abdominal pressure. This is what we often talk about when pelvic floor physios harp on the piston model. We're talking about the diaphragm, and we're talking about the pelvic floor and how they move together on inhale, on exhale. Inhale, they're traveling down towards our heels, towards our feet. On the exhale, they are recoiling to their home positions. So let's take a few deep breaths and visualize this whole system. Visualize the piston motion of your diaphragm and pelvic floor. And then switch gears. We're going to view from the bug's view again. Visualize pelvic floor clock face enlarges. Clock face gets smaller. Exhale. Inhale. Clock face gets larger. Balloons out towards us. Exhale. Recoil of the clock face. If that was confusing to you, envision a balloon expanding instead of a clock face expanding towards you. And so if you're inhaling, that balloon is getting larger, ballooning towards your feet. On your exhale, it's as if you've let some air pressure out of the balloon, and that balloon is just recoiling. When you are ready, wiggling the fingers, wiggling the toes, Maybe rock side to side on your sits bones. Gently open your gaze, blink the eyes, adjust the amount of light that's in the room. Notice your surroundings. Notice if the tension of your pelvic floor has changed as a result of becoming more connected, aware of where this muscle group lives. Its relationship with the diaphragm and with the breath. Did you notice a change in tension? Did you feel that you let go of a layer of tension prior to starting the body scan, and you've come out feeling like you have a lengthened pelvic floor, a relaxed pelvic floor at the end of the body scan? Last deep breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Let the air out your mouth. Inhale. Exhale. Thank you for spending your time and energy with me today. We hope you enjoyed this body scan with Jane. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell to find out when we have posted a new body scan. As you know, all the body scans will have a pelvic floor component built into the body scan, and we hope you enjoyed today's body scan. Thank you and have a wonderful day.